Welcome back, everybody, to Bitcoin Live on Thursday evening with me, Nick. With me in the show today are Maia and Chris from FruitionLabs. Welcome back to Bitcoin Live.
Hello. Thanks for having us again. We appreciate it.
It's good to have you back. For the people who haven't seen the last show, but you are building or creating, I should say, XRP Unleashed, a really awesome documentary, especially very interesting for the XRP army, but I think also for people outside of the XRP army, which might also be something that we could talk about. And of course, also from ETH08, I think that kind of blew up. Like, everybody's talking about it right now. So congratulations on that. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I think since the last time we've chatted, it's been a couple of months. So we've done a lot of shooting. So we've been capturing a lot of interviews for the project. We're over 40 interviews now. Wow. Of a mixture of people. So a lot of folks who maybe saw our earlier trailers saw that we started with some, crypto XRP social influencers, but then we spent a lot of time working with many people in the industry. So we were fortunate enough to, speak with, Stephen Narioff on the ETH08 side of things. We were fortunate enough to speak with individuals, actually, some of the executives from some of these big companies like Uphold's executive, I Trust Capital's CEO. And we were even fortunate enough to get an interview with David Schwartz directly. So that was a huge win for us. We did that week before last at XRP Las Vegas. And we're continuing to look for regulators to speak with, because that's a big topic right now in the US with the regulations on crypto being largely done through agency enforcement, not through actual litigation. That's a topic in the documentary of, why don't we have proper litigation? So there is always an ongoing effort to get as many experts into the documentary, developers, regulators, executives at various crypto companies, and adding those to the lineup, in addition to all of the crypto influencers that we have. Anything you want to add?
No, that summed it up.
Yeah.
Speaking about litigation and regulation, this was just in, of course.
We just saw that.
Yes, we did just see that. The rumor is that Biden will veto it. And if he does veto it, then they need a majority, a 2/3 majority, to be able to pass. And it probably won't be able to, because it just barely passed with 51 majority there. It took some Democrats breaking rank. But if I was to read the situation, for those of you in Europe, or those of you following the US 2024 election, I think the posturing here is mostly using or turning crypto into an election topic. And I think that the last US election, the 2020 election between Donald Trump and Biden, was so close in some areas that folks that tend to lean more independent or libertarian in nature tend to be a little bit more pro-crypto. And Trump's camp is sort of taking more of, increasingly, used to be, hey, no CBDCs. And I see them as a strategy shifting to, we're going to be a little more like, hey, crypto, I have no problem with it, in recent press conferences. So to me, this whole thing that you're showing here is political posturing. Either Biden will veto it right away, or he'll sit on it and do nothing. But I kind of feel like, because this is Biden's SEC, this is Biden's, agency right now, he'll probably end up vetoing it, and then that'll become a political maneuver for the election. That's probably what will happen.
Yeah, and I think maybe also with Robert Kennedy, who's very pro Bitcoin and crypto, that Trump is sort of trying to get in front of him.
Yes. I mean, of course, like those of you know, like being not part of the Republican or Democratic Party, you pretty much have a 0% chance of getting elected. So, and you're not even going to be included in the debates. So I think that, sometimes you're just kind of jockeying for who can I pull from that voter pool, as you mentioned. But yeah, anyways, we've, regulations, one of the key themes of the documentary, because we haven't had clear regulation. We haven't had any legislation. All the regulation that's been done in crypto has been done through agency enforcement. So the SEC, our Security and Exchange Commission, has been mostly just attacking various crypto companies, attacking, Coinbase, Ripple certainly, and others, and that's their attempt at doing that. So, we had the great fortune of attending the Digital Chamber of Commerce correspondence dinner while we were in XRP Las Vegas.
Nice.
And, that particular entity, for those not familiar, is really trying to advocate for meaningful legislation to be passed. It's kind of, I find it serendipitous and sort of interesting that, not a few days after Ripple announced they're going to do a stable coin on the XRP ledger, all of a sudden we have stable coin legislation.
Yeah.
Very interesting timing. And we haven't had any real legislation through the Chamber of Commerce, through actual Congress in terms of crypto. But I think with, it doesn't matter until the money's involved, right? Now, when you have BlackRock, City Capital, the largest,
Vanguard,
JP Morgan, the largest money holdings companies bringing in ETFs, it's only a matter of time before we get the Ethereum ETFs and the XRP, ETFs. And I think what Brad Garlinghouse's read of the situation is that the U.S. government is probably going to attack Tether and other stable coins that are top 10 cap coins because,
they have a little more.
The read of the situation is set. They're going to want to have less competition, maybe to the U.S. dollar or to the U.S. digital dollar. So I think that there's an interesting conversation there around stable coins and asset-backed stable coins. But again, I think Ripple is going the high road, which is, hey, we're going to partner with major banking institutions and we're going to drop this thing onto the XRP ledger, which is a great development in the story of, the adoption of XRP as a whole.
Yeah, and there's of course also some debate about the XRP stablecoin and how it then relates to XRP proper, the token, right? That's also very interesting how those two things then sort of interact with each other.
Well, I mean, a stablecoin would sit on the ledger, right? So XRP is ostensibly the cumulative value of the XRP ecosystem, the XRP ledger ecosystem. So although the app environment is not as robust as Ethereum is at the moment, the dApps or the DEXs are not as robust in terms of on and off chain movement. Still, XRP represents the cumulative value of that entire ledger and ecosystem. So a stable coin having tremendous utility being slotted in.
I see it as positive.
It's positive because the XRP token, in some cases, some people are starting to refer to it as a gas token, can be utilized as a payment form within the utilities that sit within that ledger. So I think for folks who think that, XRP is becoming a stablecoin, that's a misunderstanding of the situation. What you're getting is one of the most valuable types of utility, which is a stable token, added to the ledger. And in reality, if I'm going to move money around, like I don't want price fluctuations, even if it's for 3 seconds. I don't want price fluctuations. I need stability, and I need to be able to provide liquidity into the markets. So,
and that's where David Schwartz said, it needs to be high in order to stabilize that whole thing.
David Schwartz is talking about the XRP token itself in that case, but I think overall,
working as the stable coin.
Overall, this is a net positive. Really what you want is the more developers, the more utilities that an ecosystem has, the better off it is, right? Particularly for tokens, utility tokens, as opposed to store of value tokens, right? Because Bitcoin is like a store of value, that's fantastic, but and it's great because of its limited quantity and because of what it can do in store of value. But it's not, and some may argue, but it's not really a utility token the way Ethereum is, the way the XRP ecosystem is. And XRP is just trying to be, I think a faster, cheaper option to the Ethereum ecosystem in terms of gas fees. Everybody who's on Ethereum knows that. It's just the development ecosystem isn't as incentivized, which is why I think you see Ripple at events like Swell and Apex starting to, incentivize developers, starting to put a little bit of funding there. Yeah. But I think all of this shakes loose once my read of the situation is once this case finally comes down, we're getting into the final days of it. I know that people said that many times, but the final motions have been declared. The judge is making their final, piece. I think that Ripple simultaneously is going to start incentivizing the ecosystem, is simultaneously going to, go seek ETFs with major players, and of course, eventually IPO their company. And I think you're going to see a lot of those things happen all at the same time, and folks starting to build a lot of bridge tokens, between the Ethereum ecosystem and the XRP or Solana ecosystem. So really, really exciting times in crypto, getting all of these things figured out. And really, no matter what camp you're in, like, remember, all of us that are in crypto, we really need to be on the same camp, which is like, we need governments to get their stuff together across regions. We need them to allow and maintain self-custody. That's ridiculous. Like, we can't live in a world where we can't self-custody our crypto, not your keys, not your wallet, right? And I saw there's been some interesting movement against that in some areas, which is, defeating the purpose. And then secondarily is sort of allow the financial markets to participate, because in places like Singapore, South Korea, Dubai, these innovation hubs are moving and, allowing for crypto companies. We're sitting on Web3, and Web3 is about to blow up with all this utility. Yes, exactly. So there's a lot of this is being done on a state level you're showing here, but that's not really good enough, because you really need it on a federal level within the United States, at least. You need the regulation on a federal level. So it is a conversation piece within the documentary for sure.
But basically the states in America have the most power, right? Because they grant their power to the federal level. So as soon as the states can have their act together, they can sort of force the federal level to do what they want, right?
It can work. It could work that way, but remember, the Federal Reserve is a corporation. That's the thing that backs the money, which is backed by nothing. Bonds, which are basically nothing. And then you have the federal agencies that regulate a lot of the financial sectors. So states could foreseeably pass things.
Yes and no, they have the power.
Yeah, for example, like 25 states or so have the ability to trade gold as a currency, right? But the other ones don't. But in reality, the Constitution doesn't really talk about that per se. And so I feel like you really ideally have federal approval of this to really allow the biggest institutions, because I don't think a BlackRock or mega banks, like the 5 or 6 mega banks in the United States, are really going to want to play around unless this is done on a federal level.
Absolutely. So. But it's going to get messy anyway, right? I follow Catherine Olsen-Fitz, and she's sort of made, she's a lawyer by background, and she's sort of making these laws understandable on a state level for states to sort of organize themselves and sort of claim their power back from the Federal Reserve and the assets that have been bought and created with the money stolen from states. And so that's a very positive development. But I agree, right? You want to sort of organize this at a federal level. And you said something about Tether, and Tether is, of course, very divisive topic. But one of the things that Tether does, and that's sort of backing it up, is, of course, buying huge amounts of treasuries. And the Federal Reserve can use every buyer they can find.
Agreed.
So,
that's true. That's true.
That's probably why they're starting to get concerned about stablecoin regulation. They're noticing that, you want us to back it by an asset, we'll buy Federal Reserve notes or whatever. And I think that concerns them. So, because there are those that believe, we don't have this in the documentary, but I mean, there are those you talk to that believe that there's a great financial reset that's going to happen, and that the US dollar is going to need to be reset. Really what that means is that the reserve notes have to be set onto a different type of store of value, right? Because the value system has been the petrodollar, right? The petrodollar is kind of sort of evaporating with the BRICS nations getting together. So if you're the Federal Reserve, you need to start thinking about, some would say that those that cover the debt clock and other things would say that, well, we're going to move to a asset-backed dollar that's backed by all of the cumulative assets. That's like the theory, right? All of the cumulative assets, all of the oil in the ground, similar to the Saudi Arabia IPO, all of the gold, all of the silver, and all of the various, holdings that the federal government might have, which you could do, and which would probably make the dollar propped up by something actual. But that remains to be seen, right? That requires a big maneuver. But in the meantime, interesting to see that because that would take, there's an election going on, you're not going to get anything that earth shattering right now.
Yeah.
But with the level of printing of money that's going on and the inflation we're feeling in the United States.
Over here too.
Inflation is we're feeling inflation everywhere, right?
It's bad.
Governments are printing untold amounts of money, and the government's not really, the dollar's not really backed by anything real. Fort Knox hasn't been audited in a very long time. We don't even know. There could be nothing in there. There could be spider webs in there.
New York Bank, of course.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that it's kind of coming to an head, and they're going to have to find a way to back these things. And I think innovation always moves, technology companies, Web3, this is moving faster than the regulators can keep up with. And so I think that's why they're targeting Tether with stablecoin regulation and others, because they're like, okay, well, we would rather the US dollar be the stablecoin, or let's work with somebody who's more, tied into us. So either Tether will get its lobbyist game together, and they'll, figure out how to find some friends on Capitol Hill.
So with your last remark, somebody who's more friendly, would you say then that the lawsuit is a way to pressure Ripple in order to sort of fall in line with what they want Ripple to become? Is that what they're doing? I mean, why are they doing the lawsuit against Ripple specifically?
Well, one would argue that
an address.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a lot of different reasons. I mean, that lawsuit's been going on for 3.5 years. So, some would say that's the ETH piece. What was Bill Hinman and Jay Clayton's motivation for dropping that lawsuit? To support the Ethereum ecosystem, because they were ostensibly pawns within the enterprise Ethereum Enterprise Foundation. One could take that route. That's one lens of thinking. Retrospectively, you could also look at it as the federal agencies are trying to slow down crypto innovation for enough time for, various agencies to come together and think about this. And in the meantime, the mainstream, the public has become, I think, more and more pro crypto. It's
now an election issue.
Yeah, it's becoming an election issue. And also, when more of us wake up to inflation and feel that, it's impossible for us to afford anything. And now you're seeing, new homes for rent instead of for sale and all of these things. You're starting to lose grasp on the ability to gain financial freedom, or at least to gain like asset value within the economy. More people turn to other stores of value to see, their assets appreciate, and to fight, one, against inflation, and two, just kind of get financially ahead. And again, we're so early in this. I think those of us, again, all of us in the crypto community, a lot of infighting going on, which isn't necessary. I feel like really what we need to do is get more people into our ecosystem and be like, hey, more developers, more legitimate institutions, anybody who's like, oh, I just want to, this to be sort of the pirate economy in the sense that, it's just between us individuals. We don't want the institutions in here. I would say that's a nice thought, but you really do need kind of the whole of everybody in here, because at the end of the day, if you're trying to be early in this and you need exit liquidity, you need big money to come in. There is supply and demand with something like Bitcoin, because of the mining infrastructure. But at the end of the day, to get serious value, you need serious money moving into a system to push the value up. Either you need to push the utility up through development and through application, or you need to push the value up through the adding of assets or the scarcity of the resource. So in all, we really would want, like, let's get more retail people in here to hold early. And we're still early, even Bitcoin at where it's at, still early. And then in the coming months and years, you want the big institutions coming in and pouring huge money in here. And hopefully we find a world where we can transact directly in crypto. How it's more ideal for us because of the exchanges and the way that they skim us. Hey, exchanges, you skim us. They're skimming the price
take a lot,
all the time. They're charging you fees. So anybody that says, oh, crypto is like more efficient than a dollar, like look at your exchange skimming for a moment. No, it's not. And if I send you $10 in Bitcoin, I saw that, costs $100 in fees. That's not efficient either. But that's not a good proxy because, again, certain cryptos are designed for certain things. Bitcoin's a hold of value. I'm not mailing gold bars back and forth, right? So if its proxy is gold, that's fine. It doesn't have to be efficient for those kind of things. But I think it's valuable for us in the documentary to educate an audience. Even as we've gone out to now, we're starting to work with distributors and various agents within Hollywood. It's a good reminder that we live within this world all the time, so we can keep up with the conversation. But they can't barely keep Bitcoin and XRP straight. So your Bitcoin documentary. I mean XRP. I'm like, yeah. It's a crypto documentary, but we're focusing on XRP because that's where the regulation's going with this giant SEC battle, and it's a company that's trying to innovate global transactions between banking institutions, which is what we need in the crypto ecosystem, right? That's why that story is interesting. But for the regular normie audience, we really have to bring them in slow and reduce the amount of details and make it so that we feel that they can follow along with the story. Let me tell you why Bitcoin came to be. And then let me tell you why Ethereum and XRP exist in parallel as top coins and what they do and how they're different. And then let's explain this whole journey that Ripple's been on. And we have to do that very, very carefully to keep you interested as an audience member who's not in crypto today, to describe the value proposition of all of crypto. So we're not really in a world where we're trying to, push down one crypto or the other. Like those in the Ethereum community, we're not anti-Ethereum. In fact, we were Ethereum miners back when you could do that. It's just about the journey of fighting for normalcy within regulation and how some corrupt regulators, pick and chose which crypto to go, which crypto not to go, and did that for, political reasoning. And so we need to kind of investigate that story. That's really what it's about. It's not, oh, Ethereum's bad and XRP's better, or, Bitcoin's bad and XRP's bad. Actually not. There's just, we need to educate a wide audience about what crypto is and is not, and really where we're going, which is very exciting, and hopefully get that knowledge. Because even within this bull cycle, which we haven't even really hit yet, right? We had the pre-halving Bitcoin ETF dollars coming in, which got us up to all-time highs, but we haven't even really seen any action yet, right? It's usually
we haven't seen the parabolic phase yet.
Yeah, no parabolic phase yet. So it's still early, and even past 2028, it's still early, because even when we go into the next bull cycle, 2024 to 2028, a lot of innovation to come, right? We're still in the earliest days of this, which is why our story coming out in 2024 is, I think this is, to me, when I look at the history, other than the inception of Bitcoin, this is one of the pivotal moments where we're moving from fringe technology to a mainstream technology with major corporations building major technology. That's on one side where we have this AI race going on the other side, right? Two sides of a very dynamic transformation in monetary systems and transformation in productivity happening at the same time. It's a very fascinating world we're in. So yeah, this is a little bit about the other project we're working on, which is called AI Companions. And we've just started filming that. We're in the early filming phase of that documentary, but we're looking at AI companionship in terms of social emotional support across different sectors of the economy. So one of the first companies we're talking with is got a product called LEQ, which is a AI for the elderly. This is a different one. This image is a different robot than LEQ, but it's one of the other ones we're talking with. So LEQ is a very exciting robot that's friendly and allows elderly to talk with it. And we want to look at that that reality of the positive sides of AI, like how can an AI enrich your life and change your life and increase your productivity, especially in this town. Hollywood's super scared of it. and I'm they're very afraid of it, right? Because if they have had a system for a very long time. So yeah, it's a very exciting story.
Fear sells, of course. I just saw Peripheral on what is it? Prime, I think. Yeah, Prime. Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Really good show, which is also sort of a little bit AI, but also more AI, VR and AR. Really good series, by the way. But it's really nice to see a positive crypto production, right? Because, you know, also when you sort of look on Netflix, for example, on crypto shows, it's always negative about scams, about people ripping other people off, and, you know, people getting filthy rich and don't giving a shit, right? So it's nice to give crypto through your production a more sort of positive and more content-driven, informative spin, right? That I mean, something positive out there for
absolutely,
and I think Netflix is also sort of considering on doing your documentary, right? Or
I mean, we're in conversation with multiple distributors. Like, if I were being very honest, Hollywood is a difficult system to penetrate, right? So first of all, like, if we were to try to get a deal done as a development deal, because we're not coming in with a huge reputation, it would be impossible. So what did we do? We self-financed the documentary. We got all the interviews. We did all of the networking. Maia did all of the conversations with the community, all of the conversations with the executives to pull in the people. And my job was really the direction of it, the logistics of, what is the storytelling components, what camera angles, what do the edit look like, what is the storytelling, and so on. And we're continuing to, refine it. So where are we in production? We're basically at the end of filming. We have 1 or 2 pickup interviews to do, but we've been a typical production probably wouldn't put a trailer out until they were like very far into post-production. But so I think that's why a lot of people in the community ask us, oh, so is it launching like tomorrow, next week? Like, absolutely not. We literally, absolutely not. We are, showing you to tell you, hey, we're taking you along on the journey. These are the people, usually in real time, I'm telling you, these are the people we've interviewed.
You're basically doing the making of before it comes out.
We're being very transparent. And in fact, we asked the community in some areas, like, well, these are the folks we had, and very loudly, like, you need developers, you need these folks. And we pivoted. We adjusted course to listen to that feedback, because we look at it as a project to tell the story to a wider audience. But so many of us are the people in our families that bear the crypto flag to kind of talk to our community, whether our family, our friends, our coworkers, about crypto, that, I listen to that feedback about, who's going to resonate with a wider audience. And that's why we needed to bring in, regulators. That's why we needed to bring in CEOs of various crypto companies, and they were not easy to get. So we had to, work on doing that. So where we are now is in the post-production process. So that includes, assembling the entire series. We have 6 episodes in this. You're talking about 5 hours plus of content. So it's a lot of work to assemble all of those. Then you have to talk about the visuals. There's motion graphics, so graphics to describe things. There's actual what in industry we call B-roll, which is like, you can think of it as recreations, right? Or like imagery that is over text, because you're not just going to sit there and listen to somebody talking this whole time, even though that's what's going on in this world of the internet. But in a media asset that's on a television, you need to have visuals, and then color correction, sound, scoring. It's a big process, right? So we need several months to complete all of that, which is actually quite fast in terms of traditional timelines. And then after that, we have to find a slot within those streaming platforms. So we're working every day. If there's anybody watching this that has a connection within the industry, be it within Europe or be it within the United States or anywhere, we welcome that. The community has been extremely helpful for us. We've made a lot of positive connections to entertainment attorneys, sales agencies, distributors. This may shock you, but you can't just talk to Netflix directly. Okay. You can't just like knock, I have a project. That doesn't work that way. You can't just tag them at Netflix. You have to have somebody with a relationship or a named individual that we would all know, a household name, to rep the project, that can have a reputation and come in. You know, we're doing the best we can to build the highest quality product possible, highest quality series we can, but we still have to have the introduction made on the industry side. So we're in the early phases of that. We've had a lot of productive meetings with lots of important individuals across the Hollywood system, but it isn't easy to penetrate. So, you know, it's certainly something we're still working on. And then once we land that, you know, we might be embargoed for a while. But one thing we're not doing is we're not going to be able to show any more of the documentary at all until we get that deal done. Yeah. And then once that deal is done, of course, when we're allowed to, we'll announce it to everybody and say, okay, now you can go watch it on X platform, whatever it is, on, you know, on hopefully, you know, Netflix or Amazon or one of these places, HBO, and then folks can watch it, you know, and if there's regional variability, we'll cover that as well. In some cases, some folks, you know, might end up on a different platform in a different country, but that's all stuff that takes a long time to coordinate and get approvals on. We have to get media releases for every single frame. You know, if I'm using imagery from MSNBC, CNN, Fox Business, I have to get approvals for those. So it's a big process being a producer. There's a lot of stuff for us to do. And then the streaming platform has to decide, hey, we're gonna show this at this time in our lineup. We have this other thing coming out. So, you know, for people that feel like it's slow, I'm just trying to be as transparent as I can. It is a process to make something like this.
It's really gorgeous. I mean, the production value is really high. So, yeah, we're trying.
We're trying to do the best we can. We're not a big Hollywood studio, right? We're 5 people, and we're 5 people, you know, taking our time to do this the best we can. But a typical documentary might have a 2 to 3 year cycle. We're doing this in probably end to end, you know, shooting plus
6
post.
months, yeah.
We're doing this whole thing in 9 months, maybe. So you're doing this at this quality in 9 months.
You're inspired,
it's very
right?
fast.
I mean, when you're really passionate and inspired about something, then that really sort of is a big drive that makes you go faster than you might otherwise go, right?
Well, it's also, we have to tell this story now, right? This is a 2024 story. We must tell this story right now. And so we need an opportunity to get this information out to the masses sooner rather than later, right? If a streaming platform said, well, maybe we'll launch this in like Q4 of 2025, I'd be like, no, like, let me do season 2 if you want to do that. You know, bring this out now, and then we can like look at how accurate this was a year later and add a couple extra episodes on to the end, you know, at a later date. But we really need to get this story out right now. You know, maybe we add episodes 7 through 10 in a year from now, but get these 6 episodes out this year so that people can see this, you know, hopefully prior to the US election and prior to, you know, the winter months, so that people can get that. But again, you know, for those that are like, oh, I wonder where this is, typically a production would not share this stuff until they're really far in post. We shared this prior to post-production, right? Yeah. We made these things to showcase where we were, which helped us build momentum in the communities. And we built these trailers for the communities that are watching this kind of content, but noting that we understand the task now is to make this whole entire topic accessible to an audience beyond crypto, right? So we have to change it up a little bit, slow down in the final edit. And so that's what we're working on at this moment.
Yeah, and I'm showing the trailer right now as we speak without sound. I recommend everybody to follow FruitionLabs and check it out with sound. It's really interesting, and you got some really interesting people on the documentary talking about all these things. And I think you did a really amazing job from what I can see of it. And I think working as a 5-member team, you know, as fast as you do, I'm really impressed by the results, and I can't wait to see the real thing, you know, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
we're excited.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's probably like a piece of work that defines you, right? As a person. This
Exactly.
is, you know, your baby.
Yeah. It is, and I think people have to understand that this isn't just like a one-time project. Like, I consider myself a filmmaker. That is what I went to school to do. That is what I want to do. I spent 10 plus years in corporate America working in tech, but really storytelling is, ultimately what I'd rather be doing. And that's why we're doing this. Right. And so this crypto story is just the first of many stories that we want to tell. And we're also doing other things, like we mentioned, the AI companionship project, but we also have had a video game in development. And we're going to be announcing, more details about that. That game is called Astro Commander. And we're going to be integrating all of the technology we've learned about for all these fascinating interviews. Gives you a lot of ideas about how to innovate in space across, blockchain technologies and other things. So we're building a game that's going to be some blockchain-based game with AAA graphics on Unreal Engine, really cool experience for PC and also AR VR components for people with Oculus and Pico, or name your headset. We're working on a number of headset developments, but I'm just fascinated by technology, and we're just wanting to tell great stories that are out there. I think video games is a fantastic storytelling. I'm a big nerd. There's a bunch of gaming stuff behind me. Like, gaming is a form of storytelling in my eyes, and it's a form of community, just like crypto is a form of community. And there's a lot of different factors in that. So we're really experimenting with the latest and greatest in AI and the latest and greatest in blockchain technology, and try to make a AAA experience with, again, a different team, but a very small, powerful dev team. And we'll launch a little bit of details about that in the coming weeks and months, and talk about the project.
That's really awesome. We actually had CEO Dirk of X-Factor on a couple of times, and he's of course also using the Unreal Engine and to create this sort of metaverse immersive experience on the XRP ledger, which is really cool. I mean, it looks gorgeous. Is it something along those lines, or is it something completely different?
Yeah, I mean, we're building our own lore, our own universe, right? But what I always thought would be interesting would, like, all these kids spend so much time on Fortnite. But the thing with Fortnite is that unless you're selling your account, which isn't really, that's against their terms of service anyways. How do you create value in an ecosystem? So our game is much more, if people are familiar with EVE Online or familiar with World of Warships or Star Fox, it's sort of a merger of those titles in a sci-fi futuristic world where users can create, and like if you play Borderlands, users can create unique weaponry, unique ships, unique items, and then tokenize those items and exchange them in a bazaar, user to user, eventually, and have exciting co-op and PvP experiences in a vast, galaxy type of setting with a cool story, backdrop, lore, whole universe. So, it's very sci-fi themed. I'm not really trying to create a metaverse of sorts in the sense of like, it can be everything. I'm focusing very much on a niche of cool sci-fi game with some, tactical RTS components plus components of, live action. I don't know if you've ever played World of Warships, but it's a great game. But it's a little bit slow in terms of, like, it feels a little slow in the battle itself. So I kind of wanted to take those base game mechanics, bring them to space, increase the pace. I feel the same thing about EVE. EVE is got a big border. It takes quite a while to get into it. It takes, it's a great game. There's a lot of hardcore users, but I want to appeal to the EVE, the World of Warship users, but I want to create a universe where there's a tokenized economy and that folks can exchange things, items, and components inside of that universe. So we'll share more about that. That's called Astro Commander. And we're early in development on it, but we're going to share, where we're at and try to do some additional community fundraising to see, where we can go with that. Because, a film is one thing. A game is a lot harder to make. A lot more money is needed. But we're going to try to create something amazing and bringing it out in pieces. So it'll be cool.
Yeah, no, World of Warships is a lot of fun. And
Love it, yeah.
I love sort of the sci-fi stuff also. So are you also sort of introducing the topic of blockchain or crypto in space? Is that also sort of part of the game to get people sort of ready for that?
Yeah. I mean, it's a futuristic world, and it takes place, in a far off future where animals and humans have ascended together, and they're all cyborgs basically, and there is a impending evil AI race that comes from another galaxy. They travel over here, and they're trying to actually incite their own creations. There's a little bit of a time loop thing going on in the game, and the users have the choice to play as various races within the galaxy. So they can choose to play, and it's all kind of animal based. That's where I get my Star Fox roots from. So you want to play as a hybrid lion, or a hybrid wolf, or a hybrid bear, or a hybrid monkey, and then that affects your gameplay mechanics. And it's a combination of third person action in spaceships, and also some action sequences where you literally can do some, behind the shoulder type of co-op. If you've been familiar with the game Helldivers, which has recently come out on through Sony,
Not yet.
we're trying to get, what's that?
Not yet.
What'd you say?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet.
I'm not familiar with it yet.
Oh yeah, there's a game. Basically, I love games where you can party up with people, and you can choose to do PvE for people who like to do solo play for people who like more of a campaign structure. We have a campaign that we're building, and that teaches you all the gameplay mechanics. And then co-op, if you want to do eventually like raids, let's get together and fight a mega boss, and that's kind of fun. And then PvP, there's environments where it's like, I want to fight my armada versus another armada. I want to go toe to toe in a big battle, and there's a combination of bots and actual people in the environment. But it's quite a complex thing to build all of that with NFTs in the mix for tokenizing rare items and doing drops and social stuff. So we want to create a really cool environment, and I think to make that possible, you have to create a really amazing lore, a cool art style, a really interesting universe to play in. So World of Warships lives, World War II, that's kind of the vibe. And we want to live in like a super futuristic universe that's far and away. But what I told my dev team is no boring asteroid fields. Every space game is like asteroid fields. We're going to try to avoid that. And I also find like general space dogfighting to be boring. Like you see like, oh, I'm chasing someone and dogfighting. How do you make it much more exciting? And so that's the big challenge. That's the core gameplay piece. Make this fun, make it engaging, but also allow users to kind of customize, create their own specialized ships. We have, thousands of combinations of parts and different types of weapons we're building. And so, anyways, that's a long project. It's not quick. Yeah.
But it's sort of running in the background. What I understand is that it's pretty far along already.
We've been developing it for a while, but the cycle on game development much longer than well, I mean, it can be longer than it is longer than film. Documentary, it's like you shoot it, you edit it, you're done, right? Whereas with a game, you're like sort of building the tools while you're building the ship. You got to build the tool and the ship at the same time, which is a lot of work. And it's a lot of work to engineer it and make it fun. And, why isn't this working? And where's that bug coming from? And what is the problem here? So we have a long way to go until the vision is realized. We really want to create something fun for the ecosystem. So like I said, we're not just one project. We want to get XRP Unleashed out there, and we want to get AI companionship out there, and this game out there, and we have other projects that we're kind of thinking about that are broader, but elevating hopefully the crypto ecosystem.
Just to be clear, the game will, because you mentioned NFTs and all that kind of stuff, it will be on XRP, or?
That's what we're primarily wanting to do to keep the fees low, but I also I'm looking at bridge tokens so that you could potentially move the NFT to the Ethereum ecosystem. So I want to make it so that you can have custody of the NFT, but you need a side bridge to do that. So it's like what I would say with everything is it's in phases, right? It's like, here's the vision. I'll give you the full vision. This is what we want to support. But, you know, until I can get more funding, more dev time to build those the right way, it's going to take a while to get there. So I'm not trying to be crypto ledger exclusive. It's just a factor of optimizing resources. It's like, well, I can't afford to like make this available everywhere from day one. So got to prioritize features. You know, it's going to take a while to get each of those there. And then my buddies and I talk about it all the time, but we can't stand microtransactions, right? We just cannot stand it. So we want to make sure that we create a game that's fun, that gives value to the user. It's charging the right price at the right time. So it's going to come out, you know, we're going to do early access first. And then I really loved how, like, if you've played the game Valheim has a small dev team, you know, 5 or 6 people, and they've slowly added to it. And then every like a year, my buddies and I get back on, like, let's go back to the Nordics and, you know, battle the, you know, the Vikings or whatever it is, you know, that universe. So yeah, that'll be the approach we have, is like, we'll bring it out early and in a limited format. Not everything will be there, but we'll tell the community, like, here's what we're working on, and we'll try to get it out there so that folks can see it. It took a while to finish, to be honest. You know, it'll be a year. If we're successful, it'll take years and years, and we'll continue to add to it. And maybe we'll never end. You know, we'll just keep adding and doing like Fortnite, adding and creating new things and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the fun things I think about the crypto space and also the NFT space is that you get this sort of direct connection with your fan base and with your, you know, the people sort of giving you direct feedback on what you're creating, and that you can take it along. What you're also doing with the documentary, like involving actually the potential viewers of the documentary in the making of it, and then, you know, they definitely gonna want to watch it because they're sort of part of the making itself, right? So that's I think that's super cool. Yeah,
you want to bring in like early.
Yeah. So sort of to round up this conversation, because I'm having a lot of fun. We're also having this election year, and 2024 is, I think, will be quite an interesting year. It's already a very interesting year. So, you know, just looking ahead to 2024, 2025 in general, not just crypto, but, you know, where do you sort of feel everything is going? Do you see it like in a positive light, in a negative light? Will it be a bumpy ride? Will it be smooth sailing? Well, how do you guys see it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit bumpy at first. But I think ultimately, you know, hopefully we come out with regulations and, you know, hopefully we do come out with a brighter future and, you know, this technology and just a different world that is more helpful to everyone in the world, and that really does level the playing field for every other country, as well as, you know, America, right? America has always been kind of the bully, and, you know, it is now. I feel like it's a time where I do think that everyone deserves to play in the game, you know, and I do think we will come out of it with a brighter future and a lot more peace, a lot, you know, hopefully with some evolution of even just kind of the human race, you know, just being kinder to people and just having things be more equal, right? And giving people more of a chance in this world. So, but I do think it's going to be pretty bumpy for a while up until that point. But yeah, that's just kind of my assessment of it, you know. So
yeah. Again, a reminder that we're early. Again, let's stop the infighting. All of us in this crypto universe, Bitcoin camp, Ethereum camp, XRP camp, random meme coin camp. Like, we need to get together and, one, continue to educate, hopefully in a positive way, people outside of this community. Like, we need more people in here. Two, because it's so early, if you feel so inclined, you're like, well, I want to get really activated, work with your local authorities, right? Work with local politicians, groups, whatever your equivalent is in your country, to get legislation done. Because as much as you want to feel like, oh, we're on the pirate ship, we really do need central banks across the world and different, entities to give us access. Because if we really want to live this out, you and I, we want to be able to pay our mortgage in crypto. I don't want to have to exchange it to fiat. I want to be able to pay for services in crypto. I want to be able to tip your channel in crypto. And I can, arguably I could send a wallet address, whatever. But like, you know what I mean? Like, we want to be able to go to a coffee shop, just pay a little bit quickly, and I think that there's a ways to go before we get there, but we want to see the services and the products and all of the regulation come forth to allow that. Yes, you want to say something?
Yeah. I just want to say, ultimately the power is within ourselves, right? Within the human race. There are those few in the world, within governments, politicians that have taken advantage. And I think it's now time. I feel like it's time for the people to stand up and finally say enough is enough. We deserve a certain quality of life, right? That every human being deserves. And technology, I do think is good. Yes, it can be bad as well. And I know that there's controversy and there's a lot of fear around it, but ultimately I do think it's going to help us become more equal and just, it's going to help this world transform into a better world.
It is the decentralization, right? Even within crypto, obviously the idea of crypto decentralized finance,
but it's up to us. We got to do it.
Crypto is decentralized finance, but we also have, this whole AI thing happening. People might, on one side, might say, oh my gosh, you're going to eliminate a lot of jobs. And if you are in a mega corporation, I think that's probably correct. Like, if I'm a mega corporation, I'm probably going to automate as much as I can. There are also, like, you could take an ethical route, and not everyone's going to agree with this, but an ethical route, which would be, should a human being spend 12 hours a day in a factory, 8 hours a day in a factory? Should a human being be driving a truck and be away from their family for hours and hours and hours, or, be isolated by themselves? And some people are fine with that. There is no right or wrong answer in that, but the reality is that there is an impending population decline taking place across virtually every Western nation, and in African nations, you're seeing a decline in population due to lower birth rates, right? And
according
in order to expand,
that's a good thing. Yeah. According to Larry Fink, that's a really good thing.
Yeah, but one could argue, like, maybe there's too many people in the. So it's a natural process. Like, as we become more educated and we have access to services, we're deciding, and it's expensive, frankly. Who's going to have 10 children in 2025? Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. So,
but I agree, right? I hate politics, at least what it has become. But basically, if we want to change anything, we do sort of have to get involved, and the more people get involved, the better it will probably get. And we need to march through these institutions and recover them, right?
That's great.
There's no other way.
Protesting on its own is not going to be enough, right? We got to have what are we going to do about it? What are we going to join? Some folks just might take the simple action of, I'm going to invest some assets. Some folks might be, I'm going to educate my cousin, my brother, my friend, my coworker. Some folks are going to take it to the next level, which is, maybe they'll make their own documentary, or, do something that's helping the advertisement of crypto. Developers will come in and build tools, and legislators will go out and legislate. Like, we need the action on every level. Not everybody is going to go through all of those levels, but at minimum, just the awareness is there, and then people can decide if they invest or not.
And like what you also said at the beginning, like, we have to cross divides, right? We have to reach each other the hands, and give every person a platform to speak, and learn from each other, and less tribalism in crypto would be very very healthy.
Yes, it would be nice. Yeah.
Would be very nice.
I think so. Yeah. There are a number of haters out there, but whatever. I don't care about them.
You will always have haters. Like, that's inevitable. The more successful you are, the more haters you get. So see it as a compliment.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah, exactly.
I want to thank you both for being on the show. I had a great time, and I want to wish you all the luck with the documentary and the other documentary and the game and whatever else you're working on. And yeah, we can't wait to have you back on soon.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Alrighty,
It was fun. Take care.
Right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.